everybody. I'm Scott here at Aspiria Fitness Center. You're joining me today for mobility and more. What we'll need for class today is what you see before you here. We'll be using a mat for some work on the floor. I've got one heavier dumbbell at about 15 pounds, or a medium to heavy resistance that we will use. We also have a small dumbbell here with me on the other side. That's a 5-pounder. If you don't have weights at home, try and grab something that will work. Just a heavy book or something would be great for the heavier object, and of course your smaller object. If you've got a small dumbbell, that's perfect, but if you just have something like your water bottle, for example, that you can hold on to, that will work great as well. So also make sure we've got that water bottle with us. We want to make sure we stay hydrated. We won't get too crazy, but we want to make sure we replenish any sweating that we do. And of course, make sure you have that sweat towel with you if you need that as well. So you'll see I'm sitting down on the bench today. We're going to start here in the seated position. So if you don't have a bench, we want to try and find just a coffee table that you can sit on comfortably, or anything that our knees are not, we have a nice 90-degree angle or close here at the knee. So we don't want to be too high or too low for that matter. So find something you can comfortably sit on. We're going to start here in the seated position with our upper body, our neck and shoulders. We're going to work into our hips here in just a minute, but eventually we'll come to this standing position and then finish on our mat. So we're starting just here in this comfortable seated position, just going to start loosening up our neck and shoulders. So we're just going to start with 10 neck rolls each direction. So we just close our eyes and gently relax our muscles here. We're going to do 10 loops in one direction, and we'll switch 10 in the other way. So we should be focusing on pushing our shoulders away from our ears here, feeling all those neck muscles loosen up as we get through our circles halfway through in our first direction. So go nice and slow, extend that range of motion, and explore all those tight spots in our neck that we might want to pay special attention to. We roll through those nice and slowly. One more circle on this side. Nice, slow, gradual circle. Before we switch to the other side, again, we're forcing shoulder blades down and away from our ears. Thinking about a full range of motion, really pushing it to the sides, feeling those tight traps, getting to any tight spots we might feel, and working through those slowly. So we'll finish up our back half of our second direction here, and then we'll move on to our shoulder rolls. Same idea with those shoulders. So one more big circle here. It's about 10. Now we'll move on. So from here, we're taking our shoulder rolls. We're going to get 10 in each direction again. So we're going to come up and roll those shoulders back for our first direction. Trying to sit up nice and tall all the while, making sure we just have that motion at the shoulders and our core is staying nice and upright. We have a flat back as well. So bringing those up to the ears and pushing them down and back for our last few circles before we switch directions. Starting to feel our chest and shoulders and thoracic spine, our mid-spine open up a little bit. Let's reverse that direction. So now we're going to come squeeze the shoulder blades back first, and then we roll those shoulders up and over the top. There. We got to get 10. Feeling those neck and shoulder muscles start to loosen up and wake up just a little bit, right? 5 more big motions at the shoulder here. Big squeeze in the back as we roll up over the top, finishing up with 1 or 2 more here. Starting to feel loose in the neck and shoulders. Great. We're going to work our way down the body just a bit here into our hips. So we're going to do a nice long glute complex here to get our glutes and hips stretched out and warmed up. So this will be a familiar position for many of us here. We're kicking that foot up over onto our bent knee. And we've got 2 motions here that we'll hold. We'll keep a nice tall chest and shoulders as we drop forward, and we feel that stretch on our glute on the side that we're with our knee up here. And then we lean back up, and then we're going to pull that glute up and across this way. So we're going to hold each position for 10 seconds, roughly, and then we're going to do 5 rotations. So down and pull is 1 rotation, and then we'll do 5 total on each leg. So we're going to start here. That first one, we keep our chest nice and tall, and we hinge forward here. We're going to hold for a good 5 to 10 seconds as we feel that stretch in the back of our glute there. 3, 2, 1, and then we bring those shoulders back up, and then we're going to pull that glute across our body to the opposite shoulder, and we'll hold. So this is 1 lap of our 5 that we'll do total on each side. So we're going to go ahead and relax that down. Perfect there. So then we lean forward into our second set. So every time we should feel a little bit more loose, right? We can hopefully drop that tall chest a little bit farther forward, feeling that glute and hip loosen up. So we lean back off of it, pull that glute over to our opposite side here, Feeling that nice pull on the glute here on that back of that hip. So that's round 2. We got to get for round 3 of 5 here. Push that knee back down to the side there, and we hinge that chest forward. This is like our hinging motion at the hip here. We're seated, but we can still hinge, and hopefully keep that back neutral as possible as we keep our shoulders upright, nice and tall, and hinge forward. So we relax off that, pull across for our 3rd lap through, starting to feel that glute muscle get stretched out and loosening up a little bit. We got 2 more laps to go before we switch sides here. And we'll relax that down into number 4. Pushing that knee down, keeping our chest upright as we lean into that stretch here for 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to pull that knee up. Almost there. We're going to switch sides here in just a second. Starting to wake these hips up. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Let's get 1 more. Cycle through. Pushing that knee down. Feeling that stretch across the back of the hip as we dip our chest forward. Staying strong. Big breath in. Keep our chest and shoulders upright. 3, 2, 1. And our last pull up to the opposite shoulder on this leg here. Keep pulling. Big pull. Last one on this side. 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. So we'll drop that knee back down. Let's go ahead and switch our set to the other side. So we're going to get that other leg up there. I'm already feeling nice and tight on this side, so we're going to work through that here. And so we're starting with that hinge forward with our big tall chest as best you can, forcing this knee down. You'll see my knee is up quite a bit higher on this side, so we need to work on this hip mobility here a bit on this side. So we're dipping our chest forward as far as I can get, which isn't too far, but we should be able to maintain that nice upright chest, and we can work on that distance here as we work through our round. So we're going to lean off of it, pulling that knee up across our body, feeling that stretch. Lots of tension in the left glute today. We're going to work it out hopefully through the duration of our class here. And let's relax that down. We're going to push down and lean forward for round 2. Big breaths in and out to keep that muscle as relaxed as possible. Go ahead and relax it if we're feeling a bit of cramping, but hopefully we can work through that. We're going to pull across for round 2 now. Feeling that big stretch as we pull that glute across to our opposite shoulder. Really feeling it here in round 2. We're going to go ahead and get ready to relax and force that leg back down. Hopefully we can start to see our knee dip down a little bit farther every time. Let's keep that nice upright chest. Stand up tall, sit up tall rather, excuse me. And we're leaning forward for round 3. And let's get a big pull and squeeze across here. Four, 3, 2, and 1. Relax that back down. 2 more cycles through. We're starting to feel it open up just a bit here as we get to our back half of our round. So we're leaning forward. Keep that chest tall. Big breath in. 3, 2, 1. Let's pull it up and across. Sitting up nice and tall, pulling that glute. Big breath in and out. Exhale for our final few seconds. 2, 1, and last cycle through here. Set that knee. We're finally seeing that knee dip down a little bit farther right. We're very tight still, but we're working through it. So leaning forward one more time. Chest is tall. Big breath in and out. Exhaling that air as we lean forward here. 3, 2, 1. And our last pull, we're going to pull that knee up and across. Big squeeze into that opposite armpit. Feeling the stretch here. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Nicely done. We're going to let that foot down, relax it here. We're going to go into a quick isometric hamstring stretch here. A static stretch rather. We're going to just kick one foot out, and then we're just dropping our chest forward again in that hinged position. So we're feeling a nice deep stretch along the back of that leg. And we're doing a 30-second hold here for each side. We're going to work our way up here to our feet very briefly. Feeling that deep stretch still in the hamstring. Keeping our chest tall and upright as best we can. To hinge forward, we can get a little bit deeper stretch for our last 10 seconds here. If we lean into it, we should feel that start to loosen up a bit here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna lean up off of that, come back up into our upright position here, and we'll switch legs. So we're kicking the other leg out, and now we hinge right back forward into that hinged position, feeling that stretch on the back of our hamstrings as we work to keep our chest upright and drop forward at the hip there. So we're going for our 30, we're 10 seconds in. Take a breath, exhale your air out, and as you blow out, we might feel that stretch get a little bit easier and more accessible, right? So take what you've got. We got our final 10 here. Lean into it, really deepen that stretch for our final 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. So we are going to go ahead and come up onto our feet now, and we'll hopefully be able to use a wall for a little bit of support here, or the back of our chair, or anything we've got with us, just to put one hand on. And from here, we'll do our standing over the fence, which is acting like we're stepping up and over the fence, right? We're going to drop that leg out to the side, bring it back up and around. We've got 10 on each side to keep these hips opening up. So here's number 2. We bring that knee up to the side, swing it back forward, and touch it down in front of us here. So we've got 10 total. Let's make it happen. Number 3, feeling that glute squeeze as we pull our hip back here and touch it down to the other side. Using the wall for support if we need it. We can do this freestanding if you'd like, but if we have some support, let's try to use it so we can make sure to really own the movement at the hip and get all that range of motion out of it as best we can. We've got about 3 more on this side before we flip to our other side. Keep it moving. And let's finish up one more for good measure on this side. Knee comes up, open that hip way up to the side, and touch down. Nicely done. So from here, we're just simply going to turn around to the other way, put our other hand on the wall, and from here we'll do our 10 reps on the other side. Make sure for using that wall for support so we can really own that movement and open up that hip nice and wide without having to worry about stability or balance. That can often be our limiting factor here, so let's make sure to eliminate that and really get the best out of it with our wall support here. So we got about 5 more. Let's keep it moving along here. Get that knee up as high as we can. Swing it over. Remember, we call it over the fence, so we got to get that knee up really high and step over that to really open up that joint capsule there. We got 3 more here. Finishing strong here. 2. Starting to feel a little bit of work in those hips and glutes, right? And our last one here, up, way out and over. Tap that toe down and bring it all the way back to your starting position. Nicely done. That is our standing over the fence. We're working on the outside of our hips there. A lot of abduction in those movements, so we're going to take it right in to the inside of our hips now here. Just very briefly, we're going to do our Sumo Shift position. So we're going to open up this a little bit here for our stance. So my feet are now wider than hip width, and we're going to shift our weight almost into a lateral lunge, not quite all the way down. We're just going to shift that weight. We feel a nice stretch on the side of our leg there. So we're going to get into these positions and hold it a little bit here. So we feel that at our ankle a little bit as well as the inside of our thigh there. And we're going to get about 12 of these. Shifting to each side, really feeling that work in our lateral lunge area right there in that quad. We have a slight hinge at our hip here as well. We really are focused now on owning that plant leg at the front and making that foot and ankle complex work as we grip the ground with that big toe and really get stability developed in that plant leg there. So all the while, of course, we're getting that stretch and mobility in the inner thigh of our other leg as we make sure to keep that foot down there. So we're working through about halfway, really feeling the tension, time under tension here starting to take over, and we're feeling like these legs are doing some work now, right? So we've got to keep this plant leg nice and strong as we sink and hold into that position there. Really making that foot work. The quad is working hard as well on that leg to stay stable as we sink into that lateral lunge position. We're not quite getting all the way down, but we're loading this leg here. And we're holding in that position for a few seconds here. But let's get 2 more on each side here. We're going to call this 9 of 12. 2 and 1. Good. We're starting to feel that fatigue set in a little bit from holding those positions, really making our legs work here. We're getting some ankle mobility as well. We've got 1 more on each side. So come up here, take a breath if we need it, and we're going to sink our last set on each side here, feeling that work at the ankle and the knee and the quad. And we're sinking over to our last side. So we're sunken as far as we feel comfortable, right? We want to maintain that stability. 2, 1, and relax. Nicely done. So we're going to come back up into our normal base for just a minute. Shake those legs out. They did a lot of work as we shifted our weight from side to side there. We're going to take that position here again in just a second for kind of a modified windmill to get our upper body involved and our core stretched out a little bit as well. So in a traditional windmill, we kind of hinge forward. We're going to stay in this nice frontal plane here as we go side to side, really opening up the side of our body here. So we're going to do 12 of those as well, opening these feet up nice and wide here. So from here, we're going to reach up over the top with this hand, so we have a nice stretch all the way from hip to shoulder there in the armpit, and then we're driving this hand down into the ground a bit, so we maximize that stretch here. We're doing the same thing. We're going to hold for 2 to 3 seconds on each side. Good. We can, of course, reset here, squeeze those shoulder blades back and open our arms up. We can feel that chest start to stretch here as we shift into that neutral middle position here. And we're driving this hand way up, feeling the stretch. Good. Don't forget to come back to our neutral position here, squeezing those shoulder blades in between each rep. Here's number 6. We're halfway through, starting to feel that stretch, get really working on that upper hip there, upper side of our back side of our hip. And then we're going to keep it moving, resetting each position in that middle neutral spot where our arms are out nice and wide. Deepening that stretch all the way from the hip crest up into our armpit there. We've got 4 more to go, 2 more on each side. We're feeling it now. Make sure those feet stay planted as well. Top arms coming way over the top to get that big stretch. One more on each side. We're going strong here. Really reach the top for this last one here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And we're going to finish our last one here. Hips are starting to feel it on the inside there, getting a nice stretch. They did some work here, holding us up during this whole position, right? So good. There's our last one. We can bring it back one more time. Reset those shoulder blades. Good. So we can come back up to our feet here. Next, we're going to do a kind of a mini complex here involving a move that's called a Kang Squat. This will kind of combine squatting and deadlifting, so we're going to get lots of hamstring and quads active here. And then we're going to take that into a lunge with both a twist and a reach over, similar to that position we just did. So that's going to keep time under tension on our quads and hips, making sure we're holding that kind of split squat stance as we go through that those reps there. So our first one is our Kang Squat, and for this one we will want our heavier object. This will help us increase our accessibility to that end range of motion a little bit here. And of course we'll get a little bit of resistance working along the way, right? So from here, our Kang Squat is combining our deadlift with a squat, and it helps us to find that end range of motion at the bottom of our squat here, right? So what we do for our Kang Squat is we're starting with our weight at the hip here. We have a little bit more of an open stance than we typically would with the deadlift. We're right about hip width, right? We want to go straight down. So we're going to open that up just a little bit, and from there, we go into our hinge pattern all the way down with that flat back, and then at that point we curl the weight up to our chin and sit into that squat. So now we're at our end range squat, and then we drive straight up out of that squat hole, and that's our Kang Squat. And then we drop the weight back to start the rep at the top. So we're going to do 10 of those before we jump into our lunge complex with our twist and reach. So That was our first one, so let's go ahead and get number 2 of 10. So we hinge that forward. So from the side, let's see what that looks like. We're hinging forward, right, with that nice neutral back, and then we sit into the squat, bring that weight up here, and then we're gonna drive up out of the hole. So that's our Kang Squat, and we're gonna get 10. So we really take it nice and slow on the way down to get that deep hip stretch in the hamstrings, and then we curl that weight up and sit. So we wanna get those elbows, if we can, inside the knees here, so we can even push out on the knee there to really feel that deep stretch at the bottom of our squat. So modify this as best you can. If we can't find that end in the squat, go down as comfortably as you can, and then just get into a squat position where we can work on sinking into that bottom weight. The weight is gonna help push us down into that end range of motion. So let's keep it moving. We're gonna get 10 total. So we sink in there. We're starting to feel like we can get down in there and open up those hips with our elbows if we can, and then we drive up out of our squat. So let's keep it moving. Again, we sink as best we can. If we can hinge and just get into that position, keep doing it, and we focus on getting a little bit deeper every time so we can hopefully sink into that nice squat, and we can open our feet up just a little bit wider if we need it into almost a sumo position. That'll give us a little bit more action at the hip that we can open up, right? So let's finish our back half of this set. Slowly sinking and letting that weight pull us down a bit there and feeling those hamstrings so we can really get into this nice spot here. We've got about 3 more. Let's get 3 more. We'll move on. So sinking forward into that hinge, feeling the stretch on our hips and hamstrings, and then we sit and bring that weight up. Good. 2 more here, nice and slow on our way down. Sink those hips back, stretching the hamstrings. Sinking in there, we're holding it for a second. Squeeze those glutes to drive your knees out and drive up. Let's get 1 more here. We're starting to get a little work going. Working up a sweat here. Our last Kang Squat, hinged forward, curl and squat into it, and we're driving up and finishing it. So we had to have strong feet on there as well, so we might feel our feet like we did some work. So go ahead and drop our heavy weight. Take a break, grab a drink if you need it, and grab some water. Wipe your sweat towel if we're working up a sweat. We're taking this into our lunge with our reach and twist complex. So from here, we're gonna almost do a split lunge, split squat. We'll try and stay in this split position as best we can. If we need to reset, that's fine, but from here, what we do is we're dipping right into that knee. We can rest our knee down, and then we're gonna twist and then reach over the top. So everything is going toward our high knee. So we twist that way, and we come back here, and now my opposite arm reaching over that. And there's 1, so then we gotta do 10 on each side. This is part of our big complex here. We twist, lead with this shoulder blade, squeezing backward here, and then we reach over the top. There's 2. So then we gotta drive up out of that on our plant leg. So this will help us find that stretchiness and opening up our hip a little bit there as we twist, and we're keeping some work on our legs through the whole process. So we gotta keep it moving. There's number 4, big reach and stretch there. So core's gotta work extra hard right during this whole process to keep us upright and also to get that movement while we stay stable. So, and especially as we drive up out of that split stance. Big squeeze in the shoulder blade, leading those shoulders back. We're saying that's number 6, which means here's number 7 for us. Big twist and reach. We've got 3 more. Here's number 8. Or we're close. We don't have to be perfect. We just want to get some motion in today, right? So last one here, sink onto that knee, big twist with a big reach, and then we're going to drive up out of that nicely down. So there's 10. Shake that leg out. We did a lot of work on that front leg, the lead leg, working hard. So we're doing that same 10 with our other leg as our forward or anterior or our plant leg, right? So core has to work hard. Plant leg is working especially hard to drive us up in and out of that. We want to lead with that shoulder blade big squeeze as we twist around to make sure we open up that chest and shoulder there on the twist. So let's get set here in our split stance here, our split squat, split lunge position, and we're gonna do the same thing. So we dip down right into that half kneeling position, find that spot with our foot here that's comfortable for you. Lead with our top side shoulder blade there, big squeeze to the back, and then we reach over the top there and raise up out of that split squat. Sinking back down into it nice and slow. Squeeze our shoulder blade to lead that twist, and then reach over the top here. Number 2, let's make it happen. Gotta get all the way to 10. Take a break if you need it. Grab your drink, wipe your sweat, rejoin us when you can. We're going for 4. Halfway there, stay strong. We're feeling some fatigue in that plant leg. We're gonna fight through it. Well done, keep it up. Plant leg working hard. We got 3 more. Big squeeze in the shoulder as we pull that elbow back, reaching over the top. 3, here comes our last 2. Feeling the hips and legs working. Number 9, and we've got 1 more. Drive up out of that one last time, and our last one, big elbow drive and a big reach. Nicely done. We've made it through our Kang Squat, lunge and twist complex there. So we're gonna keep it moving down the line and start to get a little bit of upper body action involved here. We've got a lot of hip and glute and quad work. So we're gonna start here on our feet, and we're gonna use our lightweight to start here. And we're gonna keep that action that we had on our shoulder blade going as we squeezed backward to drive that elbow back. So we're gonna grab our lightweight. This will also work really well if you have a long band, a handle band, or a large loop band that you can stand on. So you wanna hold on to that handle or run into the loop. And you can stand on the band at the bottom of our opposite side. We're gonna do what's called a sword draw. This will really help our shoulder stability, rotator cuff muscles all to get woken up and working right. So if the weight, even being very light, is too much, we can just stick with body weight of our arm and getting the motion down first. But if we're standing on that band, we want it under this foot, we're pulling across this way. You'll see the sword draw motion. Imagine if we're pulling a sword out of our sheath, right? So we go from opposite hip, we want to squeeze that shoulder blade down and back, and we're going to pull that weight across our body in this nice diagonal motion as if we're pulling a sword out of our sheath. So get our nice comfortable base with our feet. We're going to do 10 of these on each side. Starting in that opposite hip, opposite pocket there, as we pull up, we squeeze our shoulder blade down and back and really feel our chest opening up at the top as we've squeezed that shoulder blade back down into our back pocket, and of course we return our arm across here. We try to keep that arm as straight as possible. Our shoulder blade is doing a lot of the action there, and we're gonna get 10. So there's number 2. We've gotta remember to drive with that shoulder blade back there and help get some motion in that shoulder joint as we come all the way up over the top, and that's what allows us to feel that nice stretch in our chest as well. Feeling those big squeezes. We're about halfway through. Let's get 5 more here. 5. Big squeeze on the shoulder blade the whole time. 4. We're feeling fatigue, right? Our rotator cuff muscles are relatively small, so they don't take much to fatigue. If we're really squeezing this right, we should feel some work going on in our shoulder there. 2. And 1 more before we switch sides on our sword draw. We're starting to feel some fatigue in that shoulder blade, in our back muscle in our shoulder. Nicely done. So let's return that to our starting position. And we're gonna flip hands. So again, if we don't have that small weight, we can use a big loop band, our handle band, or even our water bottle, a very small amount of weight. Anything you got that you can just grab onto. Even the TV remote, right? We wanna just hold on to something that will give us just enough resistance to feel it. So we're setting that nice base again with our feet. From here, we're ready to pull across from our opposite pocket, leading with a big squeeze in our shoulder blade, and driving that weight up to the air in that nice diagonal fashion. Feeling our shoulder work really hard here. Feeling that shoulder blade really work here. This one we gotta own the movement. We don't have a ton of resistance. That's what we want. We wanna make sure we're just have enough to make it work, and then we really gotta own it, and if we're tight in the chest and shoulders, we'll feel that as well here. So there's number 3 of 10. Halfway there, big squeezes in that shoulder blade. Remember, we want to lead with that big squeeze and drive down and back in our shoulder blade to feel our shoulder muscles really working. There's number 6, we'll say. 7 here, almost there. We don't have to hit a perfect 10, but we want to get close, right? We've got to get these reps evened out. There's number 8. We got 2 more. Big squeeze in the shoulder blade the whole time, but especially as we pull up and back. Starting to feel those shoulder muscles coming alive a little bit, right? Last one here, nice and slow on the way back down. Big squeeze, drive with that shoulder down and back so we can have plenty of space to pull that shoulder and arm way back in there and drive it back down into our pocket. Nicely done. That is our sword pull with a dumbbell or a band or whatever it is that you had. We get that nice pull of resistance, feeling our shoulder capsule. Really do some work there. So we're gonna go ahead and get down on our mat here and continue with upper body. We're gonna get a little bit more thoracic spine movement involved here. So from our tabletop position, we're just gonna have one arm right back behind our head, and we're gonna drive the elbow down to the mat, and then we're gonna twist up to the sky, still leading with that shoulder blade as we pull up and across and really feeling our chest and shoulders open up here as best we can. So our magic number is 10 today on this one as well. So 10 on each side here. Keep our core tight so we're comfortable with this tabletop position in our hips. And again, we've got hand behind our head for 10 elbow rotations, getting all the way down to a tap, and then twist up to the sky as best we can. We got 10 on each side. Really feeling our mid-back open up as we twist up to the sky here. 3 of 10. Let our eyes follow that elbow too as we go up. Feeling our chest and shoulders open every time a little bit more. There's number 5. Halfway through, keep working. Almost there. 8. 9, almost there. Keep it going. And 10. Good. So we're switching sides. Plant that other palm straight down here. We'll get this hand behind our head here, and we're doing the same thing. So we drive that elbow down to the mat here, and then we'll follow it up with our eyes to the other way. Big reach and driving our mid-back thoracic spine or our T-spine there. Here's number 2. Big drive. 3. Keep it moving, keep our core active here so we're nice and stable. 4. Watching our elbow up with our eyes. 5. Keep it moving. Halfway there. 6. Take a break if you need it. Reset your tabletop. Coming up on number 7. Big squeeze. Then driving that shoulder blade. 8. 9, and last one, big twist down here and a big squeeze up to the sky. Follow that elbow with your eyes. 10. There we have it, nicely done. That is our elbow rotation from our tabletop position. We're gonna grab our small weight again here. And for this one, we're gonna do a sideline external rotation. We're really focusing on that external rotation, the accessibility of our shoulders there. So if we have a small towel, or a nice little throw pillow, something that we can tuck under our armpit, that'll be great. If you don't have it, we can put your hand there to make it work. We're gonna get a quick set of 10 to 12. So we can rest our hand there to keep our elbow squeezed. And we're gonna take this very light weight or a water bottle or whatever we have, and we're just gonna open up. So we keep this nice 90-degree elbow, and we're rotating it only at the shoulder joint there. So we start here, drive that weight up and over. We feel our rotator cuff muscles come alive here. Let's get 10 to 12 on each side, whatever you feel comfortable with. want to keep something pinched in there if we can to help us remember not to flare our elbow up. We want to keep that tight so that the only thing that's moving is we drive the back of our hand and wrist up behind us. So let's get to 10 here. We're starting to feel that fatigue kick in, right? We've been using these muscles a lot. So here's 10. Let's get 2 more for good measure. 11 and 12. If we're fatiguing out, go ahead and relax whenever you see fit. We're getting a lot of work in those shoulder muscles and rotator cuff muscles today. So we're going to flip on over to our other side. Grab that weight. Remember to keep our towel or something tucked in there, a nice small pillow or your handbag or something that will remind you not to lift that elbow up. So keeping it cinched onto our side there, and then we just drive up with the wrist and hold it for just a second as we squeeze that shoulder blade down and back. We don't have quite as much range of motion for me here on this side, so that's somewhere I want to work on. So take note of that. If we feel like we can't quite get that arm up there right, we want to feel like we can open up that shoulder a little bit better on this side as we work through our set here. Feeling that big squeeze. Make sure to keep our hand tucked in under there if we don't have anything. We're starting to fatigue. We're at number 8 here. We got a few left. Let's get to at least 10 if you can. Shoulder is working hard. We got 2 more for good measure here. Keep that elbow squeezed down tight. Drive it back. And 1 more. Finish it strong. Big squeeze. Good. We're starting to feel that burn back there on the little bit of posterior capsule of our shoulder there if we were doing it right. So that's our sideline external rotation there. We're going to keep on moving. For our last few minutes, we're going to get through a little bit longer of a complex. We'll involve our whole body here to finish moving as we get moving. For our last 10 minutes or so, we're going to go through, and then we'll finish up with a little quick stretch at the end of that for our lower body as we go through. So for this one here, nice long complex. We'll shoot for 6 or 8 rounds through, however we feel we start to get fatigued out. We're going to combine a lot of moves here that uses our full body. So we're going to start in our table in a child's pose for stretching out our lats and back and shoulders. So we're going to keep it moving. So we'll start in our child pose here from tabletop. We sink back onto our hips. We feel that stretch in our spine, in our mid back of our spine that we've just been working on, and we can hang our head down. From there we'll come straight forward into what we call like our Cobra Pose here. So from here we like to point those toes backward, big squeeze in our glutes here so we can feel that stretch in our abdomen. From here we're going to just come right up into tall plank, and we're going to twist to the sky on each side. So we're going to get a little tension in our chest and shoulders as we do that. And then we're going to step forward into our bear position, where we'll then kick through. We can tap our butt down to the side if we can't support. We just wanted to find this nice seated position. And then we're going to switch it to the other side. So we come back here, and then twist and kick through to tap on that side before we come all the way back up into our pike. And then we'll drop right back into that child pose. So we're going to work through that complex about 5 times or so here. We'll see how we feel, and then we'll take it from there. So keeping a lot of tension all through our shoulders as we hold those tall plank and bear positions, and we've got some core work, lots of work to do here to finish it up. So we might break a little sweat to end class today here. We've been sweating a little already if you're me, but hopefully if you haven't yet, this will get you going. So we're going to start, and we're aiming to hold each position for 3 to 5 seconds here. We don't want to rush through it, so we want to make this nice and slow and deliberate as we work through these positions to really maximize that end range of motion and the stability in each one of these positions. So from here, we're ready to go in our tabletop. We're going to sink into our child for about 5 here. Let those arms get stretched out, shoulder blades up to our ears, and then we dip our head down here for just a few more seconds. 2, 1, and we're going to come up into our Cobra. So we tuck those toes under, big squeeze in our glutes. We feel those hips change. And we're going to look up to the sky, and we feel that abdomen stretch out a bit here. 4, 3, 2, big stretch on our core. So now we'll just come into our tall plank. Widen those feet out comfortably here for your base, and we're going to twist up to the sky here. Hold for about 3 seconds, so we're keeping that tension on our chest and shoulder, and then we'll switch sides. 3 to 4 seconds up here. 3 and 4. Good. And then we're going to step up into our bear. So those knees are floating, just as you can see there, and then we're going to kick through. Hold that if you can. We can tap our butt down and then come back to the other side and kick through. So there's one of our complex. So then we drop right back down to our table so we can start over, right? So sinking into child. Shoulder blades out our ears, big stretch in our back. 3, 2, 1. Let's lunge forward onto those elbows and hands. Just keeping them stacked in our upper body. Toes are tucked, big squeeze of our glutes. Big breath in. As we arch up to the sky, we feel that stretch in our abs there. And we're going to just come up into tall plank. Working on that core, nice long line from my toes to my shoulders. 3 to 4 seconds, twisting up, look up to the sky. 2, 1, and switching sides. Good, and we got to come up, stepping into bear. Twist and kick through. Tap that hip if you need to. Switching sides. And returning back to table. There's 2 laps through. Let's go ahead and make it through 5 total, and then we'll finish up on our feet here. So we got to go back into our table, dipping right into child from here. Walk those fingers forward, get a deep stretch in our upper body. Hang our forehead down to the mat. 3, 2, and 1. Coming up forward here. Tuck our toes down, big glute squeeze, big breath in. Stretch that abdomen out here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Up on into tall plank so we can twist. We got some tension on our wrist here. Go ahead and relax for a second if we need to. Up to the sky on each side. And we're stepping in to our bear plank where we can kick through or hip tap. And get back down onto our knees. There's number 3. We're almost through. We got 2 more laps to go. And then we'll finish one quick one for our calves on our feet. Here we go. Sinking back down. 2 more laps through. Walk those fingers out. 3, 2, and 1. Slow and deliberate. Coming forward into that cobra. We can rotate those fingers out if we're having some pressure on our wrist here. Go up onto your fist if we need to. Squeeze those glutes. Big breath in as we stretch our abdomen. And up into tall plank. We're almost there. Let's keep it going. Twist up to the sky. Walking into bear for our kick through. And back to our knees for one final loop through our complex here. Sinking back onto our heels, walking fingers forward as we hang our head to the mat. 3, 2, 1, and slow and deliberate. Lean forward, tucking toes, squeezing glutes, big breath in, and we look up to expand that abdominal cavity. Big stretch here. 3, 2, 1, and up into tall plank. Almost there. Twist to the sky on each side. And we switch. Get that hand way up there. Look up to the sky. 3, 2, 1. And a set of bear kicks on each side. Let's step into that bear pose. We're working hard here. Kick and twist. Back to the other side. Big kick. and down onto our tabletop position. That was 5 laps through a tough little complex there. We're gonna go ahead and finish up on our feet here. So we'd like to find a wall, something you can lean up against at a nice incline. And we're gonna do some heel pumps and just really finish up opening up our heels and calves. So we wanna find our wall spot, kick both heels back, and we're gonna take turns pumping. Let's get our dumbbell out the way so you can see my feet. We're gonna take turns here for our final minute, and we're just gonna pump toes down, trying to drive our heel down into the floor on that leg that's down. So we're putting our final minute on the clock, heel pumps, leaning into that wall before we call it a day. Our timer is ready to go. And our clock is ticking, so find that wall spot, lean up against it, kick those feet back, and drive our heel down into the ground. Big stretch in those calves to finish up today. Keep pumping the heels into the wall. Drive that heel down. Feel a real deep stretch in the calf. Hold for a second or two on each side and keep the pump going. We're about halfway there. Finishing up a nice stretch on the calves today. Over halfway. Keep driving that heel down into the floor or your mat as best you can. 20 seconds to go. Deep stretch along the calf. Pause for a second and let that heel push into the floor. Deep stretch. Just a few seconds left. Let's get one more on each side. So we're going to pump here. 1, 2, and last switch. And relax. Nicely done. That's our heel pump to finish up today. Should feel nice and loose on our calf and the back of our leg and our ankle there. So that's all we had today. Please let me know how you liked the video. Leave me a like or a comment. I love hearing from you, of course. Let me know how some of these felt if you tried it out. Let me know how you're feeling. If you have any questions, of course, as well, let me know. We did a full body mobility and more today. So thanks for being here. Don't forget your water. We're staying nice and loose with this class. So hope to see you back here at the fitness center soon. Hope you guys can join me for an on-site group exercise class. Until then, we'll see you next time. Have a great day.